This morning, the nation's blood supply. New moves to keep out the AIDS virus.
Madonna's controversial new movie, Will the Public Ever Get Enough of the Material Girl?
And from pit bulls to wolf dogs, the danger in the latest pet craze. Just ahead on CBS This Morning. And good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, May 21st. I'm Paula Zahn.
And I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Mark McHugh, and welcome to CBS This Morning.
We have a big day here this morning, a special guest who is going to wind up at the weather board with you, Dr. Henry Kissinger.
He's already warned me that my job may be in jeopardy.
He's been in for a few minutes already this morning, rehearsing.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Well, the thing is, you notice I'm the one sweating.
We also
find out how he likes being compared to Frank Sinatra. Right now, let's take a glance at the weather. Take a look here. Locally heavy downpours will continue along the Gulf Coast today. Some places will receive another 2 inches of rain today. Look for thunderstorms across the Rockies and much of the Midwest. I'll have that entire forecast with my brand new partner in a couple of minutes.
Don't be too threatened.
Okay.
He is going to help you along, though, this morning.
I think so.
2 minutes past the hour. It's time for the news this morning. For 110 years, the Red Cross has literally been the lifeblood of the nation, supplying half the blood used in surgery and emergency rooms from coast to coast. But the system was devised long before the threat of AIDS. Now, as health correspondent Edie Magnus reports, basic change is needed to meet that threat.
Red Cross announced it is transforming blood collection procedures.
Because of the AIDS epidemic, nothing short of a transformation will be adequate.
The plans include testing all blood at 10 regional laboratories, installing one national computer system, and creating a national donor deferral registry to try to keep infected donors out of the system. But officials acknowledge there are still no guarantees. The AIDS antibodies may not show up in the blood of someone who's been infected 6 months or less. All the Red Cross can do, if it finds out a former donor has AIDS, is look back to see if that donor's infected blood went to anyone else. The Red Cross estimates the risk of such transmissions is around 1 in 150,000.
We're talking about life-giving blood. So obviously the advantages of receiving blood when you're desperately in need much outweigh that very small possible risk.
The Red Cross will also expand programs to allow people to donate blood for themselves if they need surgery. Critics say the organization should have told people long ago their own blood is safer than using the current pool system of donation.
You're getting blood from possibly as many as 10 or 15 people in a 3-pint transfusion. And so any one of these people may have slipped through an imperfect system.
Each Red Cross center will be shut down temporarily on a staggered basis to phase in the new centralized procedures. The Red Cross says surrounding centers will be asked to increase their inventory so no one goes without blood during an emergency. Edie Magnus, CBS News, New York.
And coming up in a few minutes, more on America's blood supply and what's being done to combat the threat of AIDS. In Africa this morning, the end of an era. Ethiopia's president, Mengistu, resigned and fled the country. Mengistu had ruled since 1977 and was under increasing pressure from rebel military advances. American-sponsored peace talks to end Ethiopia's long civil war are scheduled to start next week. Ethiopian radio says the country's vice president has taken charge. In Kuwait this morning, a martial law court heard several hours of testimony against 24 alleged Iraqi collaborators, then recessed the trial until June 1st. Defense attorneys had complained they had no time to study the evidence against their clients. And yesterday, President Bush called for fair trials for the accused collaborators. The 24 defendants faced the death penalty for allegedly working for an Iraqi-run newspaper during the occupation. In northern Iraq, a small contingent of U.S. troops has moved into the supposedly demilitarized city of Duhok, hoping to encourage Kurdish refugees to follow. The city is also being patrolled by a handful of UN guards. But many of the Kurds say even if they do return, they will leave again if the Americans pull out. At the White House, a hard line towards Saddam Hussein. After meeting with German Chancellor Kohl, President Bush called for continued economic pressure on Iraq until there's a change at the top in Baghdad.
At this juncture, my view is we don't want to lift these sanctions as long as Saddam Hussein is in power.
You may have noticed that the president seemed hoarse and possibly a bit pale. The White House says that's because of his treatment for his overactive thyroid and that he's feeling just fine. In Connecticut, a violent clash among prison inmates left 20 people injured last night. More than 300 inmates were involved in the melee in the yard of the Carl Robinson Correctional Institution. Officials say they don't know exactly what set off the trouble. One guard was injured in this incident. Taking a look at the financial markets this morning, London stock prices are higher. The Tokyo market closed down slightly. The dollar unchanged against foreign currencies. And in New York, the stock market opens with the Dow Jones at 2892. The index picked up 6 points yesterday in the slowest trading day of the year. Queen Elizabeth and her entourage continue their tour of the Wild West today. Scott Pelley reports on the royal welcome in Texas.
Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were honored last night by the legends of Texas politics and culture. It is the first time the Lone Star State has been host to a British monarch. Earlier, the Queen was welcomed by a crowd of 15,000 on the steps of the state capitol. She recalled that British subjects were among those who died in the Alamo and praised the state's larger-than-life self-image.
No state commands such fierce pride and loyalty. Lesser mortals are pitied for their misfortune in not being born Texans.
The Queen addressed a joint session of the state legislature, and afterward, the royal couple was presented with the essential Texas gift. The boots are for the royal grandchildren. The Queen's Texas tour continues today with a visit to the Alamo in San Antonio, then on to Dallas and Houston. Wednesday, the royal couple is expected to view the flight of the shuttle Columbia from the Johnson Space Center. Scott Pelley, CBS News, Dallas.
And the Queen bestowed Britain's highest honor yesterday on America's war hero. General Norman Schwarzkopf was given honorary knighthood. He is the 9th American military officer to receive this honor. Later, the general was taken to a New York dinner where he met a young pen pal. Schwarzkopf said the letters of 8-year-old Andrea Turnbow inspired him during the dark days of the Gulf War. And that's the news at 8 minutes after the hour. We have an odd weather sighting at the weather map this morning. Good morning, Mark, and good morning, Dr. Kissinger.
Good morning.
What a nice surprise to have you with us.
You've heard of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
I have.
Forget all of that. Good morning, Dr. Kissinger. Thank you so much for being on the weather. Why don't you tell everybody how this whole thing came about?
Well, I made the mistake of kidding around. I came on here with Paula to talk about the Middle East, and I said, wouldn't it be nice if I could talk with the same certitude that Mark does about the weather? Why don't you let me do the weather and get him to talk about the Middle East? They took up the first part of this proposition.
Well, I'll talk about the Middle Atlantic states. Now, one thing about weather, because we're going to teach you how to do it this one, you will do the weather the next time around. It's a lot of pointing. Left is the East Coast, and right is the West Coast.
I have noticed that you don't think I know the difference between left and right. You've been rehearsing me all morning.
All morning. Can you point out your left hand for me here to the East Coast? And I'll tell you, today in the East Coast, you have one of the 10 best days of the year. It's going to be beautiful. I did that just for you, Dr. Kissinger. It's going to be wonderful. As we back up a little bit.
We play by Washington rules now. I get credit for the good things, and you get blamed for the bad ones.
Okay. Now, down in the South today, what's going to happen? This is where you say...
It's going to rain.
I'll tell you, he's really on the money. Now, one of the hardest parts about the weather is a switch over from the East Coast to the West Coast. This is where you go to your right, I go to my left. And I'm going to put this right in the middle of the country, Dr. Kissinger. I use Markimos on the map. This is what we have made up for you. This is Dr. Kissinger doing the weather. You can take that home, put that on your refrigerator at home if you like. Real quickly, when we're doing the weather, I like to do weather-related things and keep everything within the weather. But when you won the Nobel Prize in '73, rainy, cloudy, sunny, do you remember what it was that day?
Actually, I was in the Situation Room of the White House where you don't see anything, so I didn't know what the weather was.
So it was a sunny day for you, though, either way.
It was a great day for me.
Rain across the eastern half of the Rockies. Now, this is where you point to your right, sir. Point to the West Coast. What's it going to be on the West Coast today?
It's going to be beautiful.
There you go. I tell you, you're on your way to half an hour.
I'm hot.
Yes, you are hot, and I'm sweating. Coming up in a half an hour, we'll have him doing the weather. Now, this is where you say, that's a quick look at the national forecast. Say that.
That's a quick look at the national forecast.
Now, here's a look at your weather.
And here's a look at your weather.
Good morning, I'm Maria De Niro. Well, the weather today, nothing like our usual South Florida weather. Lots of cloud cover today, kind of gloomy, scattered showers and thunderstorms Might see a little sun. 83 to 86. Here's a look at the rest of the week.
Have any tips for me?
About the weather?
Yes.
Take a long vacation.
You're filling in for me on Memorial Day. Paula, back to you.
He actually has his eyes designed on our sofa right here. It doesn't work out of the weather department.
Be careful.
It's 10 minutes past the hour. Let's go back to Harry now.
Thanks, Paula. As Edie Magnus reported just a couple of minutes ago, the Red Cross plans to upgrade its steps to safeguard the nation's blood supply. But aides and reports that the Red Cross mishandled some contaminated blood have put all blood collection agencies on high alert. Dr. Charles Rualt is the president of the Community Blood Centers of South Florida, and he joins us from Lauderhill, Florida this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
The changes that we've heard so much about in the last 24 hours or so, outlined by Elizabeth Dole, do you think those changes are enough to ensure that the blood supply is safe?
I think it's a proper first step for the Red Cross to take. Many of the issues that the Red Cross has been discussing internally have been discussed for almost 15 years now, and so these are rational and intelligent moves on their part to try and take care of their own internal problems.
You say first step. It sounds to me, though, as if you think there greater and more significant changes should take place.
I think so. The Red Cross is a wonderful and diverse system, and with 53 different blood centers, it should come as no surprise that they have a number of very good centers, a large number of good centers, and a few that are very bad. The bad ones have been highlighted by the Food and Drug Administration recently. The problem is monitoring how your blood centers are operating, and with the introduction of nationwide data processing, they should be able to monitor their own operations in a much better way, but that takes years and years and years. From the material that I saw in the newspapers yesterday and today, they're talking about a 2.5-year program. So I think we need to wait and see how it is introduced before we say that it's going to be adequate.
People have been really disturbed over the last week or so about some of the headlines they've seen. Do you think the fear about the blood supply is justified?
No, it really isn't. We have seen in the past several months a number of articles published in the medical literature that show that the number of post-transfusion infectious episodes has decreased by 75 or 80% over the last 5 years alone. And these articles deal with the period of time before we started hepatitis C testing in May of 1990. Hepatitis C was the cause of most of the post-transfusion hepatitis, and it has basically been eliminated now from the blood supply. So if I were to guess, I would say that probably 90 to 95% of the infectious episodes that used to take place have been eliminated in just the last 5 years alone.
Some people have suggested that as a way of safeguarding against contaminated blood, you store your own blood. Is that a reliable or realistic option?
There are two ways that one can do that. One is just autologous transfusion immediately before your need for transfusion, and that is the very best and safest way to get a transfusion. Community blood centers and the Red Cross have been making a major effort to get patients to use autologous blood now for at least the last 15 years. In terms of storing your blood in advance of any need at all, for instance, freezing it, and hoping that you'll be able to get your unit if you have an accident, that's a very expensive and problematical proposition. It should be available, I think, for those people who wish to do it and who can afford to pay for it. But realistically, the chances of your ever being able to use that unit are relatively small.
You mentioned about this problem. Part of the problem is the Red Cross has different kinds of centers, and as it turns out, the Red Cross only really serves about half of the country's blood needs. Other blood systems, like the one that you're involved with in Florida, meet the other needs. Is there any way people in a given community can find out the quality or lack of quality work that's done in the local blood supply?
Not that I know of readily. One can check with the newspapers and see if there has been any bad publicity from the Food and Drug Administration about a local blood center. But by and large, all blood centers are regulated by the same agencies. are inspected regularly, are run by competent and conscientious people, and any problems that any of those regulatory agencies find are corrected almost immediately. I can't imagine that anyone operating a blood center who was told that he or she was doing something in violation of federal code would have any other attitude than wanting to fix it immediately.
Okay.
And I've never heard of anybody trying to cover up or hide or delay or prevent the correction of a problem in a blood center. It's just never happened to me personally, and I have never heard of it happening anywhere else in the country.
Information has been very helpful. Thank you, Dr. Charles Ruel.
And coming up next...
Businesses all over Florida are calling for help with their healthcare needs, yet too many are just not getting the right answers. But Physician Corporation of America can help with the right healthcare plan for your business. We specialize in low-cost, high-performance health plans to keep your employees healthy. Call us. We're PCA Health Plans of Florida. We can help you take good care of business.
Harvest fresh produce, such quality and variety. It seems to come from our own private garden. With the care we take at Winn-Dixie, you might think we have a special arrangement with nature. We do. Nature makes the produce. Winn-Dixie makes the difference.
This woman has mastered a technique that requires no less than 1,000 hours of rigorous certification training, 40 more hours of specialized training, and continual retraining. Using precision instruments, her skilled hands execute a task few can perform. You'd think all this training would go to her head. Nah, it goes to yours. Supercuts.
Never an appointment, never expensive, always a great haircut.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Hey, man, where you been?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
12 pesos Coors Light para el amigo mío y yo.
It's hot, man. Okay, this tastes good, man.
Woo. Hey, give me a couple of Coors Light.
Coors Light is proud to sponsor the USO Desert Storm Beach Bash at Penrod's Memorial Day.
And a cold Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
And it's 18 minutes past the hour right now. This morning, we've been having some fun with Dr. Henry Kissinger and the weather, but we thought we'd get serious for a couple of minutes and talk about what's happening in the world. Good morning, Dr. Kissinger.
Good to see you.
So we'll turn our attention from domestic weather forecasts to an area you're far more familiar with, and that is Mideast forecasts. What is your assessment of how much Secretary of State Baker has been able to accomplish in this latest chapter of this peace mission?
Well, every time an attempt has been made to assemble a peace conference, the process is more or less the same and the obstacles are the same. And so I think that Secretary Baker went through a necessary effort. He now has some idea of what the obstacles are. And I think we ought to begin turning to substance from procedure so that we don't succeed in assembling a conference, which I think we will, and then get caught in a deadlock that we can't break.
The obstacles, as you see it now, Syria's intransigence?
No, I think the obstacles are caused by the fact that each of the parties wants to use the procedural debate as a sort of a substitute or as a surrogate for the procedural debate as a surrogate for the issues that will come later. And they try to load the procedures in their favor. Israel doesn't want the UN present because they think the UN majority is on the Arab side, which is true.
And Syria wants the UN
wants
presence.
wants the UN present for the same reason. Israel doesn't want repeated meetings. Syria wants repeated meetings so that some pressure can be assembled. But it's a theoretical dispute because assuming we agree to only one meeting and then it deadlocked, and then the president or the secretary of state wanted to call another meeting, Israel couldn't wave a piece of paper at us and say, no, there can't be another meeting. History won't stop just because some procedural agreement has been reached. So I think these difficulties will be overcome. But the real problem is that we don't get into a conference and then both parties dump on us the decisions that they ought to make, and we look as if we are more interested in a settlement than the parties most concerned.
So what do we do for that not to happen?
I think that before the conference actually assembles, we should begin a substantive exploration with the parties so that we know what we are facing. And if people say that this will block progress, if they're not willing to talk privately about their positions, what do we think will happen at a conference when they're all together and are all playing to their publics?
What's in it for the Syrians if they compromise at this point, and also for the Israelis?
Well, for the Israelis, there could be recognition which nobody has yet granted them, and peace, whatever that means in the Middle East, where agreements get broken fairly easily. The question about Syria is a good one. I am not so sure that Syria really wants to put itself in the position where it has to say that it has accepted Israel. And I think it would be easier with Syria to make a partial agreement than a so-called final agreement. What Syria wants is the leadership of the Arab world, and they will use this conference to appear or to position themselves as the defenders of Arab nationalism. That is its primary reason. They don't want the conference to take place without them.
Dr. Henry Kissinger, nice to have you with us this morning. How do you feel about your other duties here this morning?
Panicked.
You weren't so bad. Actually, this is something you wanted to do for a long time.
That's right, and you got me into it.
Talked you into it. I hope you're not sorry about it.
No, it was good fun, really good fun.
Nice to have you with us this morning, and we'll be watching you at the weather map a little bit later on. Let's go to Harry now.
I'm impressed. 22 minutes after the hour. Still to come this morning, we're going to have more on our home fix-up series with Bob Vila. Get some help done around the house, and we'll take a look at Madonna madness as the mania goes on. Stay with us.
Compare our fresh, tender broccoli, the best pick for just 67 cents a large bunch.
Why are these people smiling? They've discovered the advantages of leasing their new Cadillacs, the Cadillac Smart Lease. No down payment and a low monthly payment like $469 on Sedan DeVille. So now all that cash you saved up is freed up for an even better investment, yourself. Hurry, this special $469 a month offer ends June 10th.
A cult of terror.
He started touching me. It scared me.
A cult of perversion.
He'd send the women to have sex together.
A cult of intimidation.
He beat us one by one.
The allegations are shocking. The real story may be even worse.
The cult is run by a self-ordained preacher. His flock calls him God's prophet. Others call him one of the most dangerous men in South Florida.
Susan Candiati investigates. Tonight on Channel 6 Action News. We're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
Do not adjust your television.
Adjust your radios to the all-new Mix 105.9 FM. 50 minutes of music an hour. For 50 minutes of music an hour, turn on the new Mix 105.9 FM.
Buy direct from the manufacturer. Skip the middleman and save at Recreational Factory Warehouse. It's truckload savings time. And if you've ever thought of purchasing a pool or spa, now's the time to buy. Giant 5-person spas just $14.99. 4-person models only $12.99. And 3-person styles only $9.99. Just $9.99. And take advantage of no money down and no payments till October or 9.9% financing. See Saturday's paper for all our specials and hurry to the truckload sale going on now at Recreational Factory Warehouse. This is a sale you can't afford to miss.
We're back.
We're back.
25 minutes after the hour. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Mark.
Good
morning,
morning.
Dr. Kissinger.
Good morning.
I want to know the most surprising phone call you've gotten in the last week from people wanting to know why you're doing the weather or if you're really doing the weather.
You know, this started as a joke, and between Paula and me and Mark, the next thing I know, I'm doing it. And I ran into Larry Tisch the other day, the chairman of this. I said, you know, I'm doing your weather. He said, come on, tell me another joke.
I was down in Washington last week. There was a tea at the British Embassy for the Queen. There were 1,500 people there, and there were some very, very heavy hitters there. Senators, congressmen, generals. And the first buzz was, have you seen the Queen yet? And the second question was, is Kissinger really doing the weather? I asked over and over again.
They couldn't believe it.
I was walking home yesterday. A cab driver leaned out the window and said, McEwen, yo, Henry Kissinger? And I said,
A policeman stopped me in the street in New York.
And what did he
We're
say?
going to watch tomorrow morning.
Great.
Going to watch your ratings.
it's great fun to have you here. Great fun to have
You
you.
also attended a state dinner, did you not, for when the Queen was here?
Yes, and
and what did they have to say?
A lot of people came up to me and said, come on now, that's a joke, isn't it? I said it started out as one.
It's still funny so far.
Well, one
You
thing
wait till I do it myself
Yes.
and walk off the map.
One thing I think is nice is someone of your stature able to smile and have some fun, because a lot of people think that it's all business. And we who've seen you off stage or off camera, you have a great sense of humor and a great wit about you as well.
Well, I've enjoyed the show and I've enjoyed the weather. And I wanted to see whether I could do it.
And you've proven that you can.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. It's coming up.
That's the
Coming
frightening part, because when Dr. Kissinger was here a week or so ago for some photos, he walks over to Paula and me and says, first I take his job, then I take your job, then I take her job, and then I do it all myself.
The Kissinger Show.
These are Washington rules here.
What I want to know with your early morning wake-up call, usually you complain that you had to try to walk the dog before you came in here,
That's
before your
true.
morning appearances.
That's
Did you get
true.
up this morning to walk the
I have a
dog?
very temperamental dog. She was mad as anything when I left. She goes into Great Depression. She's a very temperamental dog. It's a black Labrador.
What's
Messed
her
up her
name?
morning cycle.
What's her name?
Amelia.
Amelia.
We once gave a dinner party for a lady called Amalia, and I got her name wrong, kept calling her Amelia in my toast. So,
She didn't appreciate that, I
well,
take
she
it.
didn't know where I got it from, thank God.
I hope she didn't, hope she didn't meet the lab before she left the
Real
house.
quickly, your son is here with you today. What's your family think about what you're doing this morning?
Well, he writes for Variety. I've assured myself of one favorable review.
I don't know. Is he going to get a favorable review?
Garen doing very well.
It's 29 minutes after the hour. We'll have lots more this morning and the real weather debut of Dr. Kissinger in just a little while.
This is CBS.
They say you don't get any younger, and yet we all try. And then one day it dawns on us. Maybe it's time we understood that planning for death does not mean forgetting about life. For over 100 years, my family has worked hard to earn the confidence and the trust of the families we serve. We have a plan whereby you can make all of your funeral arrangements in advance. For more information, dial Hunters.
When you need money fast, call Metropolitan Mortgage.
All they ask is, are you a homeowner and how much do you need? It doesn't matter about income, age, credit, or why you want the money. And since all you need is sufficient equity in your home, your loan is usually approved in 24 hours. For money fast, now when you really need it, call the Metropolitan Mortgage Company.
Metropolitan Mortgage is standing by for your call. In Day, dial Freedom. In Broward, dial Justice. Anywhere else, 1-800-EASY-YES. Si quiere hablar español, marque español.
CBS This Morning is sponsored in part by Metropolitan Mortgage.
Love her or hate her, no one is neutral, it seems, about Madonna. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn.
In just a couple of minutes, we're going to be taking a closer look at Madonna Madness. You saw the movie.
I liked it a lot. I expected not to like it. She didn't provoke me as much as I had expected her to, but I was very entertained.
I went to the movie, too, on Friday, and I thought, what's all this outrage about? And the movie is intriguing. It's incredibly well made, and we're going to be hearing from the director of her controversial film, Truth or Dare, in just a little bit.
And also coming up in this half hour, part 2 of our special home improvement series with Bob Vila, getting your house ready for a new coat of paint. And Dr. Bob Arnart with his special report on cancer this morning, the importance of early detection.
And, of course, if you're tuning in this morning and expecting to get the weather from Mark McEwen, you'll get that.
And a Nobel
bonus.
Peace Prize winner, Dr. Henry Kissinger this morning. He's going to go solo in this half hour.
Is that?
Oh, first time alone at the weather map.
Roll the VCRs. Time now for this morning's news. A computer problem aboard the shuttle Columbia is forcing NASA to push back tomorrow's planned launch at least 24 hours. The earliest possible launch is now 8 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday. If the computer has to be replaced, it would extend the delay another 3 to 4 days. The latest Soviet space mission seems to be going flawlessly as a Soyuz hooked up with the Mir space station. Britain Helen Sharman, the first woman to visit the Mir, and 2 cosmonauts heard themselves praised yesterday in a long-distance conversation with Mikhail Gorbachev. In Britain, vicious attacks by pit bull dogs are prompting calls for a ban on the American-bred pet. Peter Van Sant reports from London.
6-year-old Roxana Khan, the latest British victim of an American import, the pit bull terrier. She was savagely attacked over the weekend, bitten at least 25 times. The pit bull only let go after its head was repeatedly slammed in this car door.
When he let go of her, you won't know that was Roxana, the playing child. You know, 1 minute she was playing, next minute he bashed her up so much.
The vicious attack has shocked Britain, leading to demands that all the country's 10,000 pit bull terriers be destroyed.
They have been bred for their strength and for their aggressive, attacking nature. When one of these animals attacks, it attacks to kill.
Pit bulls were first introduced into Britain in 1977, brought here by American breeders. With their powerful jaws, pit bulls are considered the most dangerous and vicious attack dogs in the world. Despite at least 125 pit bull attacks in Britain in just the last year, the American who first brought them here has no regrets.
Despite the fact that they have originally been bred for fighting, they do and can make an excellent pet.
At least 27 Americans have died in pit bull attacks. In Britain, the animals have maimed but not yet killed, and the government hopes tough new legislation will make Roxana Khan the last pit bull victim. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, London.
Coming up a little bit later, we'll look at a new household pet that is causing controversy in this country, the wolf dog. For the 3rd straight year, an American movie has won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. The Golden Palm Award went to brothers Joel and Ethan Coen for Barton Fink, described as a dark satire of 1941 Hollywood. It's 26 minutes before the hour. Once again, we have our tag team weather this morning. Mark, Dr. K.
Yes, indeed. Well, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid. I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier, what do you prefer me to call you? Dr. Kissinger, Mr. Kissinger, wouldn't Henry Kissinger? What would you prefer?
No, I don't stand on protocol. Excellency will do.
Okay. Well, Your Excellency, before we do the weather, I have a little business to do. This weather segment is sponsored by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up. We also have wake-up calls here. And take a look at this right here. We're going to wake up a lovely city that you know a little bit about. Watch behind the girder. New York, New York, clear skies, 54 degrees. We did that this morning because we both do a lot of business here. Also, the UN is here. You know a little bit about that. And Harry got to meet the Queen. I got to meet His Excellency. Your chance to do the weather, sir. Let me get out of here.
Don't go far away.
I won't.
If you live anywhere between Egypt, Pennsylvania, and Lebanon, New Hampshire, I foresee more peaceful weather for you. It should also be fairly nice around Paris, Kentucky. But the area near Athens, Georgia, will remain mostly cloudy and breezy. I get all these.
I think you're doing a great job. I just want
traveling now over Palestine, Alabama. I'm sorry to say that the volatile conditions are still occurring.
Now, don't forget, this is where you slowly move towards the middle of the map.
So it looks like more heavy rain will fall from thunderstorms, which could last all day. The nation's midsection will be mostly
That
cloudy.
was great. Just wanted that.
Did I get that
was
straight?
beautiful.
Midsection. But it should be dry in Cairo, Kansas.
Now move to your right as you're going to the west.
They don't really believe I know the difference between left and right. Thunderstorms will continue to echo across the Rockies, including the areas around Belgrade, Montana. However, Moscow, Idaho should escape the rain. Finally, I'm expecting the peaceful weather to last along the West Coast, where in Brisbane, California, it should be sunny and comfortably cool.
The Weather Channel's on the phone. Just wanted to tell you that.
That's the national forecast. Now, here is a look at your weather.
Good morning, I'm Maria Gennaro. Once again today, it looks as though it will be a mostly cloudy day. We might see a little bit of sun here and there, but for the most part, quite a few clouds, scattered showers and thunderstorms, and temperatures cooler, 83 to 86. Here's a look at the rest of the week.
I'm not doing any more vacation, but if I do, I would love to have you come in and do the weather. What a wonderful job you did.
Thank you.
Now back to Harry.
I'm impressed. I wouldn't go on vacation, Mark, quite honestly. Movies, concerts, videos, records, film, festivals. Madonna, it seems, is everywhere. A one-woman industry.
I think she's overexposed in more ways than one.
These days, it seems, Madonna is everywhere. And with the release of her new film, Truth or Dare, Madonna Madness is in full force. Star-studded screenings in New York and Hollywood, making a splash at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival.
He loves me. He loves me not.
Truth or Dare is Madonna's most revealing project to date. It's a behind-the-scenes look at last year's Blonde Ambition tour. The film features concert clips as well as more private moments. But some people believe the movie is too revealing, and that in this scene, Madonna's former boyfriend, Warren Beatty, provides the voice of reason.
If you want to talk at all off camera, you have nothing. She doesn't want to live off camera, much less talk.
But perhaps the man who knows her best right now is director Alec Kashigian. He spent the last year with Madonna, shooting the film and then editing it.
I discovered, and hopefully I show on screen, some of the various contradictions that make her a human being, both good and bad.
Did you know, as you were making the film, that this is sort of, this may be an act, this may be more real than something else?
You know, some people look at this movie now, I think, and say, well, God, is she acting off? She's acting off stage as much as she's acting on. But what I would say is you could reverse that thought and say maybe she's not acting either place. Maybe what she's doing on stage is just a continuation of living her life off stage.
So, I had a fling with another art world person.
Madonna buddy, actress Sandra Bernhard, appears in the film.
As personal as it was, you know, I don't think we talked about things that are really personal. You know what I mean? There's a level of personal, and then there's a real depth of personal. And I don't feel like it went to that place.
This isn't a propaganda piece where you're going to walk in there and you're going to walk out loving her. Some people might walk out there disliking her more. But I think on some level, they will understand her a little bit better, and perhaps more importantly, they'll be touched by some of the themes that are discussed.
Like a virgin,
Time and time again, Madonna has shocked America. Her last video, Justify My Love, even proved too hot for MTV. And 1989's Like a Prayer alienated Catholics. But others believe Madonna has made America take a look at itself, re-examining views on sex and morality.
She makes us all look deep inside of ourselves and question our own beliefs. And for that reason, I believe that there is substance behind her madness.
She knows how to give people what they want to see. They want to see a horror on television and in the movies, so she's giving it to them.
come together in every nation.
Truth or Dare is making money, and lots of it. Whatever it is Madonna is offering, America apparently can't get enough of it.
In case you're keeping score, the movie came in third last week in terms of box office receipts, but it's only at a fraction of the number of screens the rest of the movies are at. And it's a big hit. It's a big hit.
I'll tell you what I was struck by, her sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't usually see in the show. And she's very cynical, but she has a great sense of humor that comes through, I think, throughout the film.
And people can't get enough of it. I mean, you walk in, the new Rolling Stone comes out, and somebody has it on their desk, and 17 people mob over to find out what the interview has to say. It's quite a phenomenon. It's 18 minutes before the hour. Still to come this morning, Bob Vila on what to do before you paint your house.
And coming up next, early detection, an important weapon in the war against cancer.
Your sense of smell is about 10,000 times more sensitive than your sense of taste. And no other coffee is more sensitive to that fact than Folgers. After all, Folgers is made with mountain-grown beans because we know that beans grown high in the mountains are blessed with the richest coffee aroma of all. So what better combination could you have in the morning? The remarkable aroma of mountain-grown Folgers and your remarkable ability to appreciate it.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
All right, how many this time? 8 cavities. 14 cavities? I didn't think I had that many teeth. You're gonna have to drill? My parents will be very upset.
Parents today hope their kids won't have to go through what they went through. Luckily, today's kids use the toothpaste more dentists recommend, Crest. The first toothpaste clinically shown to give you protection down to the root of the tooth.
Another great checkup. Yes! Woo, woo, woo. Later, dude.
Crest, the dentist choice, is the easy choice.
It's been fun.
At Whirlpool, we believe you shouldn't have to think about your appliances. They should be so carefully designed, so solidly constructed, they'll do their jobs for years without your ever giving them a second thought. We're committed to building and backing all our appliances this way, and it shows in every one we make. So if you want appliances so well built you don't have to think about them, there's one name you should think about. Whirlpool.
50's nifty. And to extend these good years, we eat right, exercise, and to be sure we take Geritol Extend with all the vitamins folks over 50 need. Geritol Extend, because you're as young as you feel.
At 16 minutes before the hour now, Dr. Bob Arnott joins us to continue his week-long series on cancer. And today, you're going to talk about the importance of early detection.
Good morning, Paula.
Good morning.
There's a real fear of early detection that doctors are going to find cancer. And early detection is not dazzling. It doesn't have the same sort of panache as the high-tech weapons that we see. But when individuals avail themselves of early detection, the results can be seemingly miraculous.
Joe Burns plays golf twice a week. He says he's never felt better. Joe had cancer 3 years ago. It was treated, and now it's gone. Phil Hellweg jogs around the track every morning. He's in the best shape of his life. Phil had cancer 3.5 years ago. He treated it, and it hasn't come back. This group of women has had breast cancer over the past 2 years, and today they are free of cancer. All these people are alive and quite well for one key reason: early detection. They took advantage of the best-known way to beat cancer.
I am just so appreciative that this test exists and that I heard about it and signed up for it, because to me, I thought the picture of health, working out regularly and just had no symptoms whatsoever.
Phil Hellweg had prostate cancer. Both he and Joe Burns took a new blood test that can detect the cancer before it spreads. If you get it early, the cure rate is nearly 100%. The experts generally agree that early detection can save many of the 115,000 lives lost each year to cancer of the prostate, colon, breast, and cervix. So who should be screened and how often? All men over 40 should be tested once a year for prostate cancer with a rectal exam and the blood test. Women 18 and older should get a pap smear once a year for cervical cancer, as should sexually active teens. The pap smear has been used for 50 years and is still considered to be the best test in a reliable lab. Colon rectal cancer. For men and women, a rectal exam once a year over the age of 40. A stool blood test once a year for ages 50 and older. And a more detailed exam called a sigmoidoscopy for ages 50 and older every 3 to 5 years.
Okay, here you go with the compression.
Breast cancer will kill 44,500 women this year. 1 in 5 deaths can be prevented with a simple mammogram X-ray. It is safe and highly accurate. Women should have their first mammogram at 35, then every 2 years between 40 and 49, and every year over 50.
The problem with breast cancer is that we don't know what the cause of it is, so we can't prevent it. The only way that we can treat breast cancer successfully is through early detection. This is a woman who underwent a mammography. She didn't have any masses in her breast that you could feel. However, this picture here shows speckled spots which shouldn't be there. And these spots represent microcalcifications. These microcalcifications cannot be felt, but what they represent is an early breast cancer. This woman has a survival that approaches 100%. Now let's take, for instance, this patient. This is a patient who had a mass that you could feel on the breast. It's a more advanced cancer. Perhaps if she had a mammogram years before, it would have picked up something that was a curable cancer.
So what kind of tests are on the horizon now that can determine that the cancer exists before it metastasizes and spreads throughout your body?
One of the most promising is for ovarian cancer. Now, there are 11,000 lives lost every year to ovarian cancer, and that's because it's almost never found before it spread. This new test is an ultrasound that uses sound waves to look down into the ovaries to try and find those masses before they've spread. That's on the horizon. Another interesting preventive technique for ovarian cancer is that the use of the birth control pill for 3 years or more can cut your risk of ovarian cancer by 50%.
If you just take it for 3 years?
That's correct.
That's the result. Interesting. Thanks. And tomorrow?
Tomorrow, your family tree.
Terrific. Thanks, Bob. 12 minutes before the hour coming up next. Get ready to paint with Bob Vila.
This morning's health segment was sponsored by Ultra Slim Fast, the delicious, nutritious way to lose weight.
Frank and I do everything together.
That's good.
Why, when I was pregnant with Cody, we even gained weight together.
That wasn't good.
Then I went on the Ultra Slim Fast plan, and in 4 weeks, I lost 10 pounds. And Frank lost 15 pounds in 6 weeks.
That was great.
We each had a shake for breakfast, another for lunch, and then a sensible dinner. You know, honey, going on the Ultra Slim Fast plan together really is a great idea.
Yeah, I'm glad I thought of it.
Ultra Slim Fast. Give us a week, we'll take off the weight.
Do your friends like to party, especially on their birthdays? Well, if you can't attend one, send one. Just call or visit your FTD florist, the only one who can send a birthday party bouquet almost anywhere. Send a party today.
The doctor knows where it hurts. Dr. Scholl's unique 2-layer air pillow insoles. 1 layer for shock, 1 for comfort. You'll feel better when the doctor is in. Dr. Scholl's.
A cup of that coffee, please.
You know, it's going to be a nice day for the parade.
You know, even the coffee tasted somehow better back then. I guess that's why those Maxwell House folks slow roast their 1892 coffee. Didn't even change the way they used to make it. Introducing Maxwell House 1892 coffee, made with old-fashioned pride, the way things used to be.
You got kids? You've got germs.
Hold it.
You definitely need Liquid Dial. It has a special germ-killing formula other liquid soaps don't. And it's hardly worth getting soap on your hands if you're not killing germs. Liquid Dial. Kill the germs. Keep the kids.
Painting your house can be a real grind, but getting the right start is one way to make it a little easier. All this week, we're visiting this house in Naples, Florida, to get some home improvement tips. And giving us those tips is Bob Vila, host of Home Again with Bob Vila, and the former host of This Old House. And today in Naples, Bob shows us how to prepare a house for painting. Good morning, Bob.
Hi, Harry. How are you?
What's the first thing we need to do?
The most important thing you need to keep in mind is that if you don't prepare the surfaces well, the paint's not going to stick on. And if you're dealing with an old house like this one of the main things is to really wash off any mildew or anything like that that you might have on the house.
Now, some folks use these pressure washers. Are they expensive? Are they difficult to use?
You don't want to buy one. They're about $1,700 for a big one like this, but you can rent a tool like this for $50. And it really does make a tedious job go very easily. Let me show you how you do it.
All right.
We'll just start this up. It's going to be a little bit noisy, so I won't be able to talk over it.
Okay. You can really see what a difference that makes.
Well, here in Florida, you know, you've got a lot of mildew to deal with, but even in New England or in the big cities where you might have pollution, it's also a good tool to use.
Are there tips in terms of what you should or shouldn't do when you're using a machine like that?
You know, you're shooting water out at 2,500 pounds per square inch. That's a lot of pressure, so that you have to be careful that you don't go too close or you gouge the wood on your house. And obviously, you don't want to aim it at anybody because it's really going to shoot. Let me show you what it can do on a post over here that's been basically mildewed and nobody has maintained for many years. If you train that jet of water right on a post like we did right there, you're getting right down to bare wood. So it really will do a great job of prepping your surface.
But I remember from shop class, I thought we were supposed to sand and scrape all of the surfaces. Do I still need to do that once I've washed it?
Yeah, you really do, Harry, because even though you'll take all this excess stuff off your house, if you want a good bond with the paint, you want to get in there, you want to have some sanding paper and usually a scraper. I've got a couple of things here, but basically what you want to use is a rough sandpaper that you can take right up to the house.
Right.
So that you can go into any rough graining and smooth it out. And we just use a block of 2x4. And if you have old paint, you're going to need a tool like this one with a good sharp blade that you can use to scrape any excess paint right off.
Yeah. Because it doesn't do any good to throw that paint on there unless the surface is prepared right?
That's the most important thing, because you want to have a bond between the old paint and the new paint.
You got to have that paint bonding. Okay, Bob, real quickly, Oil or water-based, especially outside like that?
We're really using a lot of water-based paints now. It's all trying to be responsible for the environment. The oil-based paints have a lot of heavy metals. We're trying to stay away from them. But if you are in an old house where you've had oil-based paints in the past, you're probably going to have best results continuing with the oil-based paint.
All right, Bob, we'll let you get in from the rain out there. Thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be back.
The Venice Simplon Orient Express, naturally the most luxurious train in the world, serves the richest coffee in the world.
Oh, c'est impossible! Pas de café de Colombie! Vite, vite, retournez à Paris!
100% Colombian coffee, hand-picked by Juan Valdez.
So many families now love Quaker Oat squares. Think how a flake feels. You okay?
Oh, I'm so flat and frail, not square like you.
Quaker Oat squares are more than just square. We're toasted whole grain oats sprinkled with brown sugar.
You're sprinkled. I'm wrinkled.
And Quaker Oat squares stay crunchy in milk. Come on in.
You can't. Once milk touches me, I'm a soggy sight.
I'll try not to splash. Quaker Oat squares. You'll love them from Square One.
All ready-to-serve orange juices start out equal. Most brands take out nature's water to form a concentrate, then put water back in. But here's one brand that doesn't. Tropicana Pure Premium. It's not made from concentrate. Nothing's ever added or taken away. In fact, no other major brand comes closer to this than this. Sooner or later, we think everyone will reach the same conclusion. You just can't pick a better juice.
These days, there are more pain relievers than ever. But last year, more people switched to Tylenol gel caps than any other. Extra strength Tylenol gel caps. Concentrated, powerful, easy to swallow. Join the switch to Tylenol gel caps.
What am I doing here? This is my meeting!
Just a sprinkle a day helps keep odor away.
Shower to shower body powder with baking soda to fight odor and absorbent cornstarch.
Have you had your sprinkle today?
On CBS this morning, here's a look at your weather. There's no let-up to the thunderstorm activity along the Gulf Coast, as the next few days will remain very wet. Stormy weather will continue across the Rockies and into the Midwest. However, the Northeast will remain simply gorgeous for yet one more day.
And still ahead this morning, Mark will be talking with the singer and pianist they call the new Sinatra, Harry Connick Jr., and we'll show you some weight loss scams that won't reduce anything but your bank account.
And we can't get Kissinger out of here. He says he wants to come back and do one more weather.
Why not? Stay with us.
Eye on America's immigrants. This man was shot crossing the border illegally. Some say it's an invasion. He deserved it. What do you think? The story tonight on the CBS Evening News.
Your children are asleep in their rooms. Suddenly, disaster strikes.
Someone help!
Rescue 911 tonight.
For better,
Be happy, you're getting married.
for worse,
It's like a bad dream.
the reality after the romance.
This is his shelf, my radio, his bathroom.
Marriage American style.
I wonder if my mate's being honest with me.
48 hours at a special time, Wednesday.
This is CBS.
Step right up for the best bodies when the Chippendales face off with the Penthouse Pets. They'll teach you to stay taut and toned together. The Battle of the Bodies from San Francisco on the next Geraldo.
Today at 5 on Channel 6.
Hot, hot, hot. Raleigh Furniture Factory Outlets is having the hottest summer ever because we make what we sell, so why pay more? This sofa and love seat, $475. 6-piece bedroom set, $549. 5-piece dining room set, $375. 3-piece sectionals, $595. And here's more. This sofa, love seat, and chair, only $695. And look at this 3-piece Italian set for just $995. Remember, you can furnish your entire home for $1,495 only at Raleigh Furniture Factory Outlets in Miami and Hialeah Gardens.
Genetic offspring, Wesley Crusher.
Get the hypo spray.
For additional Transcom, consult Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Now every weekday afternoon at 4 on Channel 6. 400 were there. Not one saw the murder. Next, Inside Edition. Tonight at 7:30.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Paula Zahn.
And I'm Harry Smith. Good morning, everyone.
We have a lot ahead in this half hour. Hattie Kaufman shows us the dangerous new trend among some pet owners, dogs that are actually half wolf. And I ask you, is this any way to lose weight? Well, the folks who sell it say it is.
What is that?
We have more on weight loss scams a little later on. You just, put the little suction cup up and it takes about 15 pounds off you every time it pulls on you.
Or so they say.
There's also a fat magnet that we're going to introduce you today that's supposed to just melt those pounds away.
I can't wait to see that. A little bit later on, the singer some people call the new Sinatra.
It had to be you. It had to be you.
Is this guy on every radio station in America or what? Harry Connick Jr. in the second part of Mark McEwen's week-long series on hot young music stars. Plus Robert Krulwich on beer the way it used to be thousands and thousands of years ago. That's coming up in just a bit. And of course, we'll have a little bit more from our weather duet.
Dr. Kissinger, Mark McEwen, he did a pretty good job on his solo round, didn't he?
The calls are coming in. I think we may have a real problem on our hands here.
Mark said earlier on, he does this weather great, then it's your job, then it's mine. So we better watch out.
Henry Kissinger in the morning on CBS.
Now it's time for the news at 2 minutes past the hour this morning. A Kuwaiti court has postponed the trial of 24 alleged Iraqi collaborators until June 1st to give defense attorneys time to study the evidence. The 24 journalists worked for an Iraqi-run newspaper during the occupation. If convicted, they could be executed. The delay comes one day after President Bush called on Kuwait to hold fair trials for the accused collaborators. But following a White House meeting yesterday with German Chancellor Helmut Kohl...
You know about pointing to the right. There we go. Okay.
So it will be nice in Jerusalem and Amman and northward to Beirut. I'm not going to point anymore. As you can't figure it out, it's your problem. As you can see, however, the mercury is rising across the desert regions. Baghdad will reach 92 degrees, while in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh will be close to 97. I've got it wrong again.
Right.
Well, I'll get it. Next time, Mark, I've got to come back. Okay. I'm expecting Kuwait to reach the 90-degree mark, while over in Iran, Tehran will have a somewhat cooler 83.
Real quickly, let me show you how chroma key works. As you snap your finger, see there's just a blue screen behind him. That's why. And then you snap it again, and you get the map again. That's a quick look at the international forecast. Now here's a look at your weather.
Good morning, I'm Maria Gennaro. Well, the weather today, nothing like our usual South Florida weather. Lots of cloud cover today, kind of gloomy, scattered showers and thunderstorms. Might see a little sun. 83 to 86. Here's a look at the rest of the week.
Dr. Kissinger, you were so good, $20 for you not to come back again because I may not have a job if you come back and do the weather one more time.
Send it to my Swiss bank.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the weather with me. This was such a treat. Harry?
I like how he not so subtly invited himself back
yes,
in the middle of the Middle East forecast.
Memorial Day. He'll be filling it.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Before there was light beer, before there was low alcohol beer, even before there was beer made with hops, there was still beer, and a U.S. brewery is trying a classic recipe that is thousands of years old. Our Robert Krulwich is here to tell us more about it. Good morning, Robert.
This is the story of two men who tried to put history into a bottle.
I'm Fritz Maytag. I'm the owner and the brewmaster of the Anchor Brewing Company in San Francisco.
He wanted to try out an ancient beer, something very special.
This is Mr. Maytag's ancient food consultant, Professor Saul Katz. For years, Mr. Maytag and some of his staff at Anchor Brewing had wondered, and after all, beer is their business, when the first beer was invented thousands of years ago in Mesopotamia, what did it taste like? And how did they make it? And could Anchor Beer, if it wanted to, make some today? So Professor Katz sent Mr. Maytag a recipe.
Probably this recipe is 5,000 years old, at least 5,000 years old.
It was written on a small clay tablet like this one in the form of a song or a hymn to a goddess called Ninkasi.
The goddess Ninkasi was the goddess of beer.
So there's already a goddess of beer?
There was already a goddess of beer.
That suggests that there was some drinking going on.
There's some serious drinking going on, yes.
So Fritz Maytag in San Francisco said, okay, let's make the beer. Let's turn ourselves into an ancient brewery for one day using that recipe. But the recipe had problems.
They're not accurate recipes. They're just indications of what kinds of materials were used, and it's almost like a mystery story where they give you some of the clues but not the rest of the story.
Now, anyone who's ever cooked from a recipe knows how important clear and precise instructions are. But if you tuck the ingredients into the lyric of a song, we'll see if you can follow this.
Since we didn't know any ancient Sumerians, we asked the Jive Five to sing the recipe as it was originally written.
You're the one who handles dough and with the big shovel. Big shovel. You're the one who bakes the pop here in the big oven. You're the one who waters the malt, sat on the ground. Down on the ground. You're the one who soaks the malt in a jar.
So, the recipe so far is first dough with a shovel, then bapir in an oven, then malt on the ground, and malt in a jar. For dough, they used Middle Eastern barley, the real thing. Bapir is a kind of bread they bake 5,000 loaves. The big oven is the copper tank you see behind Mr. Maytag there, and malt on the ground, well, instead of ground, they used a tank. So they improvised a lot.
Everyone in that room got a very big sense that they were doing something totally unique and backwards in history and everything else. And so this is a very interesting moment.
But to finish the beer now, it had to have flavor.
You're the one who holds with both hands the great sweet war. Sweet, sweet war. Brewing it with honey and wine. It is like the onrush of the Tigris and the Euphrates. You're the one.
And here it is, the final product, Anchor Brewery's Ninkasi beer. And how did it taste?
Oh, it tasted okay. A lot of people have asked me, so how was the beer? Oh, the beer was for brewing, not for drinking, no. The beer was fine. I did not like it particularly.
It was okay, but it had a slight off taste to it.
And it was a lot better than no beer at all. And after a few sips, it tasted even better.
Well, not the highest praise, but if it tasted like date juice, as some said, so what? The point was not to make a tasty beer, but to make a beer and go through a process that the very first brewers went through 5,000 years ago to make their beer and get into their skin, kind of like time travel. For a modern-day brewer, that was the thrill. And I should say special thanks to Charles Mills of Charles Morrow Associates, our composer, and of course to the Jive 5 Class A Sumerian beer interpreters.
I appreciate this story because every time I have a sip of beer, I sense that I'm sipping history.
And you are. And you are. And they're going to have another beer out soon.
Yes, and what is that?
Well, just edition number 2, slightly, maybe get rid of the date flavor.
Okay, Robert, thank you. 16 minutes after the hour. Paula?
And still ahead, Harry Connick Jr. And next, the dangers of dancing with wolves.
Buy direct from the manufacturer, skip the middleman, and save at Recreational Factory Warehouse. It's truckload savings time, and if you've ever thought of purchasing a pool or spa, now's the time to buy. Giant 12x24 oval pool packages, complete with everything you need, only $9.99. 15-foot packages, just $5.99. And take advantage of no money down and no payments till October, or 9.9% financing. See Saturday's paper for all our specials, and hurry to the truckload sale going on now at Recreational Factory Warehouse. This is a sale you can't afford to miss.
Most HMOs today are busy with the healthcare needs of larger companies, forgetting about the small business owner and how to protect him from rising healthcare costs. But now they can look to Physician Corporation of America with low-cost, high-performance healthcare plans specifically designed for small business. So if you need a small business healthcare plan with big benefits, you're not alone. Call us. We're PCA Health Plans of Florida. We're big on small businesses like yours.
They finally called father and son. Modern moving with old-fashioned care. Complete packing and unpacking, plus climate control storage. Thank you, Father and Son. 4 generations of movers serving Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County.
Hi, I'm Channel 6 Action News anchor Ken Matz, and there's great excitement here at Penrod's Beach Club as we prepare for the USO Desert Storm Beach Bash on Memorial Day, May 27th. Join us and these sponsors at South Beach from noon to sunset as we celebrate our troops with beach contests and musical entertainment featuring world-famous rock groups. Listen to WSHE for details or call 258-0055. Your donation will benefit the USO of Dade. Join Channel 6 at the Desert Storm Beach Bash.
It's 18 minutes after the hour right now. In the 1980s, the pit bull struck terror in people's hearts. Now people are choosing another controversial pet. As national correspondent Hattie Kaufman reports, it's a cross between dogs and wolves.
In Hollywood, you can dance with wolves. In the movie White Fang, you can even get a wolf to eat out of your hand. But Hollywood is not reality. In New Jersey, a wolf dog bit off a toddler's arm. In Seattle, a wolf dog grabbed a 3-year-old by the head.
The bare necessities.
And all of a sudden, I'm hearing the screaming. Across the street, Dusty, the wolf dog, is tossing this thing around in the air. And I thought, he's tossing that rag like it's something else. And then all of a sudden, it clicks into my mind, it's my daughter's purple jacket. And I'm going, it's Melissa. And I'm going, call 911, my kid's just been chewed up by a dog.
Melissa McMullen is one of a small but growing number of children mauled, or in some cases killed, by wolf dogs. Many animal shelters no longer allow adoptions of wolf dog hybrids, even though demand is growing.
They're in vogue. They're the thing to have.
Kathleen is a buffalo wolf, and buffalo wolves are extinct in the wild.
Wolves are an endangered species throughout most of North America. Wolf Haven, a sanctuary in Washington state, opposes the breeding of wolves with dogs.
No matter what you do with a wolf, it'll never make a pet, ever.
Wolves are pack animals. Dominance in the pack is always shifting as the weaker ones challenge the leaders.
So when a child comes up to a dog, that can be looked on by the animal as an aggressive attack?
When a child runs across the yard, if you have a wolf in your family or a wolf hybrid, you never know when that's going to trigger that animal into a predator-prey role.
I let my kids handle these to socialize them.
Chris McQuaid is a wolf dog breeder. You decide to feed these animals raw meat.
It's natural for them.
Did they kill the calf?
No, we get them from dairies.
Chris says many of her animals are 98% wolf. Pups can cost up to $1,500. She claims they make good pets, but not for everyone.
Are you confident they won't turn wild?
I'm confident they won't if with the positive attention, with the right kind of attention and love and bonding.
Michelle owns 2 wolf dogs. She knows they'll never make house pets.
I've always had a fascination with wolves since I was 10 years old.
This is Bandit. She's 2 years old, and
The closest I've gotten to her is,
probably 1.5 feet.
you have a special relationship with wolf hybrids that you don't get from a dog.
The difference between wolves and dogs is about the difference between a house cat and a tiger.
Wolves belong out in the woods, and that's where they ought to stay.
Hattie Kaufman, CBS This Morning.
But they're making their ways to a lot of yards around the country.
And a big problem with a lot of and I'm not so sure about wolf dogs, but especially with pit bulls and different kinds of big, regular domestic dogs that tend to be have a reputation as being vicious, is so many times they're not trained well. Somebody just chains them up in the yard, and
So the first time a child puts
grabs
his hand through the fence,
it's
they're
trouble.
in trouble.
Yeah.
22 minutes after the hour, coming up next, Terry Connick Jr.
Miami City Ballet. Let the spirit move you.
Do not adjust your television.
Adjust your radios to the all-new Mix 105.9 FM. 50 minutes of music an hour. For 50 minutes of music an hour, turn on the new Mix 105.9 FM.
Recently, when I became deathly ill, I was able to summon an ambulance, my next-door neighbor, my family, and my doctor without picking up a telephone. I used this remote control to contact LifeCall, my 24-hour emergency medical response service. Watch. You just press this button and speak into the air and...
I'm having chest pain.
I'm calling paramedics and your family, Mr. Miller.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
See? Protect yourself with LifeCall, and you're never alone. To get complete free information by mail about this affordable medical emergency response system, call toll-free now. LifeCall can save your life, so call to get free details by mail right away.
For free information about LifeCall, call 1-800-654-3900. That's 1-800-654-3900.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Hey, man, where you been?
What's going on, guys?
12 pesos Coors Light para el amigo mío y yo.
It's hot, man. Okay, this thing's too bad.
Hey, give me a couple of Coors Light.
Coors Light is proud to sponsor the USO Desert Storm Beach Bash at Penrod's Memorial Day.
It's the right beer now.
We're back, 25 minutes after the hour. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Bob.
Thanks for that beer segment, Bub.
Hey, the singers were great.
Yeah. Yeah. You needed to do a kind of a beer segment.
A beer.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of Dr. Kissinger's performance here this morning?
I thought that his solo in the second half hour was pretty fine.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's there. He's, you know what I thought, for me, the highlight of the day when he said, I'm not pointing at anything anymore. Weatherman with an attitude, Henry Kissinger.
That's really hard what you do over there.
Well,
I mean, for anybody that doesn't understand it, you're standing in front of this huge blue wall.
And you're looking at screens on either side and pointing.
It's, I think, the single most peculiar difference between watching this program on television and watching it off television is to see an adult man standing in front of a blue carpet or a green carpet, gesticulating wildly, hitting with his finger things that are not there, is the one thing. I mean, you know how to talk to people, you know how to stand up, sit on the couch, and move from chair to chair, but you don't know how to talk in front of an empty carpet. And that's the difference.
Yeah, it was weird. First time I ever did it. It takes a little getting used to, but it's funny after a while. If I were standing up, I can say, that's New York right there. There's Florida. I'm standing in front of Texas. That's Utah, and that's Los Angeles.
What did Joan Rivers get you into trouble with
Oh.
the day that she was having you do your chroma description on the show?
Well, she had me standing up. I said, now, I pointed to like her face. I said, that would be the Northeast coastline. I pointed to her waist. I said, that's about Virginia. I said, we're not going where Florida. So I kind of got in a little trouble for saying that.
She loved it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in Harry Connick Jr.
Harry Connick Jr., well, we have two people back-to-back that are very interesting. Today is Harry Connick Jr., tomorrow is the fabulous Wynton Marsalis, and they're both from New Orleans, New Orleans, as they would say, and they both basically grew up in the same musical family. Ellis Marsalis is Branford and Wynton's father. He did workshops. He taught my sister. He used to teach at Xavier University, and fabulous guy. And they have this, jazz is noble and special and smart. And you see people, and not to put anybody down, but you know, pop music, you can have one song and buy California for what you make off of that.
Yeah.
Most jazz artists, it doesn't work that way. And
well, Harry Connick Jr. probably now has a large part of the Sacramento Valley.
That's right. That's right. And Wynton's got the San Fernando Valley. But the dedication to their craft, the fact that they really believe in the music, and you're a jazz man, you know, they're just different. It's just special and smart music. I mean, maybe you can't be a dummy and play sweet jazz. I don't think you can do it. You have to be smart.
I like it because it has a sense of humor.
Yes.
And anger.
Well, you know, it's funny. You'll watch people watching a jazz show and they'll laugh because he's going one way, then he'll switch and throw a little bit of Night in Tunisia in there or something, then whip back and do something else. And you're giggling, and if you don't know what they're doing, you're like, nice horn, you know, as opposed to real smart playing. So we get Connick today and we get Marsalis tomorrow.
Connick, he's like, the album is selling by the trillions or something. Because I literally, as you punch around the dial, it seems, in the last month or so, every time, that's all you hear is Harry Connick Jr.
It's interesting, Harry Connick Jr., Red Hot and Blue, there's been a real retro sort of thing.
Well, I go right back to Wynton Marsalis with that because he's the one that brought the renaissance of jazz, got it reflourishing all over.
We'll be back.
This is CBS.
Channel 6 and these sponsors invite you to sign up for the Kuda Hoop 3-on-3 basketball tournament. The action takes place May 24th through 26th at Miami Senior High and benefits Boy Scouts of America and the United Negro College Fund. Register your team to compete for a chance to play at the national tournament, to be televised on Channel 6. Pick up an application at any A Sports or Sports Authority stores. Hurry, deadline's May 21st. Call 567-9966 and join Channel 6 at the Kuda Hoop.
A cult of terror.
He started touching me. It scared me.
A cult of perversion.
He'd send the women to have sex together.
A cult of intimidation.
He beat us one by one.
The allegations are shocking. The real story may be even worse.
The cult is run by a self-ordained preacher. His flock calls him God's prophet. Others call him one of the most dangerous men in South Florida.
Susan Candiati investigates. Tonight on Channel 6 Action News. We're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
Tie up your mornings with an hour of Family Ties today at 9 on Channel 6.
You know I can't lie. If I say to you, baby, I love you, then baby, I love you.
Harry Connick Jr., lots of people are in love with his music. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn.
And I'm Harry Smith. Good morning, everyone. And Harry Connick Jr. happens to be the subject of part 2 of Mark McEwen's special series on young musicians who have made it to the top of the charts.
And speaking of musicians, our very own Charles Osgood will treat us to a musical interlude about Dr. Henry Kissinger. And we're going to show you how to avoid falling into the weight loss trap where all you lose is your money. You're not going to believe the gimmicks we're going to show you today. Little magnets that are supposed to like melt the pounds away, little sunglasses you wear that are supposed to melt them away.
Is old Herb Weisbaum going to help us out on that?
He certainly is. You wait till you see the vacuum cleaner that sucks the 15 pounds right off you. Got to see it to believe.
I do want to see that. Time now, however, for this morning's news. NASA this morning delayed tomorrow's launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia at least 24 hours. Workers have discovered a problem with one of the onboard computers. The delay forced crews to put off loading 30 rats and 2,500 jellyfish into the shuttle. When Columbia does make it into orbit, the crew will use the animals to study the effects of weightlessness. President Bush is calling for human rights reform and free elections in Cuba. The president's call comes at a time when record numbers of Cuban refugees are pouring into Florida. Doug Tennell reports.
Even as President Bush's offer to Fidel Castro was being broadcast across the airwaves to Havana, 11 people were spotted drifting north from Cuba on a raft made of inner tubes. They were among the lucky ones. It is believed that at least half the rafters never make it. But all 11, including 3 women and a 10-year-old boy, reached the Coast Guard base in Miami on Monday afternoon. More than 65 Cubans were picked out of the water over the weekend. Each one every bit as desperate as the first to escape communist Cuba years ago. In fact, desperation is the backdrop for President Bush's unprecedented offer to Fidel Castro.
If Cuba holds fully free and fair elections under international supervision, respects human rights, and stops subverting its neighbors, we can expect relations between our two countries to improve significantly.
Cuba's economic forecast has never been so bleak. The lines outside shops in Havana just keep growing. The island's only source of oil, industrial spare parts, and even food imports, the Soviet Union, is an ever more uncertain ally. And yet the distrust and animosity between Havana and Washington is still so great that few believe Castro will give any serious thought to the Bush administration's offer. In the meantime, more and more Cubans keep risking it all on the voyage to the United States. 11 more Cubans reached Miami in the last 24 hours. More than 700 have come this way since January. By this measure of desperation in Cuba, 1991 is a record year. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Miami.
There is a new controversy over the possibility that Americans are being held in Vietnam. The Los Angeles Times says the head of the Pentagon office that tracks POWs has resigned. And it says a memo from Colonel Millard Peck accused the government of ignoring or covering up leads on Americans in Vietnam. The Times says Peck did not offer evidence that any MIAs might be alive. A prison riot in Enfield, Connecticut last night injured 20 inmates and 1 correction officer. More than 300 inmates were involved in the fighting that broke out in the prison yard. The inmates used rocks and homemade weapons to attack each other. Officials say none of the injuries is life-threatening. Finally, a report this morning says 30-something will not be returning to television this fall. USA Today says ABC is dropping the yuppie drama about life after 30 and replacing it with a new series about life after World War II. That's when the baby boomers were small. 26 minutes before the hour, Mark has to do the weather all by himself this morning. You feeling lonely?
Yeah, call that show 1945 something or something, 30 something. Never mind. Yeah, I am feeling a little lonely. He's gone. I want to thank Henry Kissinger for being on the show with us. And Henry, if the diplomacy thing doesn't work out, you've got a job here. This weather segment is sponsored by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up. A couple of birthdays. A man who is to Perry Mason what Sean Connery is to James Bond. Raymond Burr is 74. Author of The Betsy, many other bestsellers. Harold Robbins is 75. Clubber Lang from Rocky III. B.A. from the A-Team. Mr. T is 39. What you looking at, Mr. T? Let's talk about the weather here. Gee, it's kind of strange doing it solo. I feel like one of the Everly Brothers right now. But East Coast today is going to be just gorgeous. Lots of nice weather up and down the East Coast. 80 in New York City, 79 up in Holton, Maine, 72 in Chicago today. Going to see some scattered thunderstorms down through the south one more time. They've had a lot of rain, too much rain, but you're going to see that today snaking up a little bit up the Mississippi. As you come to the middle part of the country, the breadbasket of the country, you'll see that's a buffer zone between rain on the right and rain on the left. Little rain activity up and down the eastern slopes of the Rockies. Hop across that front. Thunder disappears, but and the lightning disappears, but you will see a little bit of shower activity right around Utah. West Coast, you're going to see a great day today. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Now, quickly for tomorrow, what you can see around the country out on the West Coast, warmer down through the south. Actually, not too bad up across the Northwest either. That front that you saw coming up and down the eastern Rockies, sort of lazing on up into the northwest. You'll see some thunderstorms across the beginning of that front. Let's say through Wyoming, a little bit of Montana as well. Warm again down through the south. Again, scattered thunderstorms down through the Gulf Coast. They will be snaking up the Mississippi one more time. So rain across the Ohio Valley. But if this little high pressure system does what I think it's going to do, one more gorgeous day in the Northeast. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Good morning, Emery and Gennaro. Once again today, it looks as though it will be a mostly cloudy day. We might see a little bit of sun here and there, but for the most part, quite a few clouds, scattered showers and thunderstorms, and temperatures cooler, 83 to 86. Here's a look at the rest of the week.
Well, that's the weather for today and for tomorrow. Paula, Harry?
Thanks, Mark. In case you missed it, Henry Kissinger was here a little bit earlier sharing weather duty with Mark. Well, the first Nobel Prize-winning weather man may be gone, but he is certainly not forgotten this morning.
And our wandering minstrel Charles Osgood has just happened to wander in this morning, piano in tow, with a little special treat for us. Charles?
Thank you, Harry. Paula? Well, we saw a different kind of Henry Kissinger this morning. I wonder who he is now. I wonder who's Kissinger now? I never imagined somehow that this man who opened Red China's wall, as you recall, he's done it all, would dream that one day he might be a weatherman on the TV. We'll know before long if his forecast is wrong. I wonder who's Kissinger now. Forecasting's not easy to do, 'cause your forecast don't always come true. But diplomacy often must be that way. Come what may, Dr. K has proved that he often does know which way the wind's going to blow. And if it should rain, go ahead and complain. I wonder who's Kissinger now. I wonder who's Kissinger now. It does seem peculiar somehow. This man who's so famous for being wise, horn-rimmed eyes, Nobel Prize. I wonder if future reports will have Mother Teresa on sports. I wonder if she is a Mets fan like me. I wonder who's Kissinger now.
You got inspired this morning.
No threat to Harry Connick Jr.
Charles, I have to ask you, how do you think the weather was done this morning?
I thought it was terrific.
Did you?
I thought it was really marvelous. Who was that guy who was with Henry Kissinger?
I have no idea. I have no idea, but he'll never work in this business again.
He really had fun, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did. I thought he seemed to enjoy it. But I don't know, the weather is not the kind of thing that seems to me that ought to appeal to a man like Kissinger.
Maybe that's what made it so funny.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
One of the brightest minds I've ever come into contact with, and the thing was, as you notice, as he went along, it got better and better. He's picking it up as he was going along. And I'm probably going to cancel my vacation. We talked about that, so he's not going to come back.
He told you to take a long one.
That's right.
After he banks the $20 you gave him
That's
with
right.
his banking
That's right.
account, as he said.
He's a good fellow and a good sport.
Yes, he is. Good song this morning as well.
Thank you.
And of course, you know, he said that he was going to take, after he's mastered Mark's job, Paula's job, my job, it will be Kissinger in the morning. As
I heard
a
him
new
say
show.
something about the Kissinger file.
Something like that. Did you know that some people actually said to me, did you write that song? You know, they didn't know the original song. They didn't know, I wonder who's Kissinger now. That's right. Yeah. That's a little depressing, isn't
Henry
it?
Kissinger, I guess you could have said.
What you'd say is, yes, I wrote that song.
Yeah.
He wrote the words.
Wonderful contribution this morning. And I like the voice. We have not heard you sing before on television.
Well, if Henry Kissinger can do the weather, then I was good once.
You all have to stick around for this next segment. At 20 minutes before the hour. Coming up next, how to lose weight and save your money. Lots of gimmicks ahead.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always comes through. It's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Folgers Decaffeinated uses mountain-grown beans because they have more aroma than lower-level beans. And you need great aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. What a wonderful way to let the sun shine on your day. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
You just couldn't resist eating the last of that crunchy, sweet, crackling oat bran. How do you avoid being blamed?
Hey, Tiger. You never saw Daddy eat the crackling oat bran.
Hiya, sweetie. You didn't eat all the crackling oat bran, did you?
With the crunchy, sweet taste of Kellogg's crackling oat bran, an open box is an empty box.
Just behind the Haynes Mansion in Spring Hill, Tennessee, we're building the brand new Saturn sedan. A car to take you from Monday through Friday to Saturday and Sunday. A car to drive you through your toughest workouts. A car to whisk you off into eternal bliss. Or maybe just to the beach.
Take away all the Hollywood, and it's just me, Vanna. Just someone who needs a really good night's sleep. That's why I sleep on a back supporter mattress from Spring Air. So I wake up feeling great. For a great tomorrow, Spring Air tonight.
It's 18 minutes before the hour right now. More people than ever are on some kind of diet, but unless you're careful, you could wind up losing dollars faster than pounds. Consumer specialist Herb Weisbaum is with us this morning from Cairo TV in Seattle. So what's with those glasses? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you know, Paul, they say TV adds 10 pounds, so I thought I'd lose a little weight here while I was listening to Osgood sing. These are the Diet Vision glasses, and the Vision Dieter, glasses. And the idea is they make the world look terrible, so you'll won't eat food as much. You'll make food look terrible.
Oh, sure.
Well, they do make the world look terrible, but it doesn't do anything for your appetite. This little massager, this is called the CellX. You rub it on your arms or legs, and it's supposed to make unwanted cellulite disappear. Or is that cellulite? I don't know, because it doesn't do anything. And this is the fat magnet. Now, if you believe the ads, you take these pills, and the fat will magically get flushed out of your body so you can eat as much as you want. Absolute nonsense. Now, diet scams won't make the pounds melt away, but they're guaranteed to lighten your wallet.
It's the battle of the bulge, and it's being lost. The average American eats too much, exercises too little, and carries around too many pounds. So we diet, sometimes on our own, sometimes with the help of a product promising miracles. You've seen the ads. They promise instant success with virtually no effort on your part. Burn the pounds away while you sleep. No dieting, no counting calories. No way.
Anytime you see an ad that says you're going to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, common sense tells you it took you longer than 2 weeks to gain it. It's going to take you longer than that to take it off.
Some diet scams can be dangerous. Most are plain silly, like the Slim Skins, plastic pants that hook up to the exhaust from your vacuum cleaner. According to the ads, this Mark Eden device, no longer on the market, would take those excess inches off your waist, hips, and thighs. Guaranteed.
Ready? I've heard about pump you up, but this is ridiculous.
Now, this is very cute. It's very amusing until you stop to remember that a lot of people wasted a lot of money on this.
Several hundreds of thousands of people, believe it or not, did spend their money for this, and it has absolutely no value whatsoever.
So why do people waste their money on these things? Maybe it's because dieting is such an emotional thing, tied into a person's feeling of self-worth. Common sense doesn't always win out.
And desperation takes over. And they get to the point where they're willing to try anything, including something like a Band-Aid with a little bit of water on it.
A Band-Aid with water? Sound ridiculous? Not if you call it the diet patch and use slick TV ads to sell it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Reagan, and welcome to our show. Today's topic, the diet patch, must be of great interest to everyone out there.
The Federal Trade Commission sued the company marketing the diet patch, so they no longer sell it.
But there are plenty of other worthless weight loss products still being sold. Remember, no matter what the ads say, no powder or pill, no potion or cream can make the pounds magically disappear. Sorry.
Yeah, I wish they did work. So as you've wandered around, what have you found is really effective?
The only way to really be effective is to do one of two things. You have to eat less or exercise more. Take in fewer calories, burn up more calories, or both of the above. It's the old story, but it's true.
And you should have some fairly realistic expectations about how quickly you can lose this weight, too.
Medical experts say the safe way to lose weight and the way to keep it off is to lose between 1 and 2 pounds a week. If you take it off slowly, you're more likely to keep it off. You take it off rapidly, you're more likely to put it and a little bit more back on again.
You talked about how easily consumers are sucked into buying these products, and I know there are a lot of dangerous products out there on the market right now. Which ones can you warn us about?
Well, the problem with pills such as the fat magnet, which were recently just pulled off the market, is that they're not approved by the Food and Drug Administration. So no one knows what they're going to do to you. Odds are they're not going to do anything, and they could be dangerous. People have taken these pills and gotten sick. In a couple of rare cases, people have actually died. So besides lightening your wallet, these things can be dangerous.
How much do pills like that cost, for example?
Oh, this says retail $29.95. They can go higher. That's just for one bottle. These sometimes $69, $89, $100.
I'm fascinated by the glasses you had on that make the world look ugly, so you won't eat so much. They don't work.
They don't. They just make the world look lousy is all they do.
Herb, thanks for joining us this morning.
Okay, Paul.
Good advice. 13 minutes before the hour, coming up next, Harry Connick Jr.'s rocket ride to the top of the charts.
This morning's health segment was sponsored by Maxwell House Coffee. Always good to the last drop.
cup of that coffee, please.
You know, it's going to be a nice day for the parade.
You know, even the coffee tasted somehow better back then. I guess that's why those Maxwell House folks slow roast their 1892 coffee. Didn't even change the way they used to make it. Introducing Maxwell House 1892 coffee, made with old-fashioned pride, the way things used to be.
Debbie! Sheila, is that you? You used to be, now you're so... How did you... Deck the trim. Oh, excuse me, sir. Do you sell this by the case?
Here's a gift for your new son. Son of a gun, cute. No, this will help protect all the vinyl and the leather in your car and house.
Thanks, but how much of a mess can a baby make?
What did I tell you? It's like a whole new Kmart.
I got a phone call this morning from one of our oldest customers. He fired us. After 20 years, he fired us. Said he didn't know us anymore. I think I know why. We used to do business with a handshake, face to face. Now it's a phone call and a fax. Get back to you later. With another fax, probably. Well, folks, some things gotta change. That's why we're gonna set out for a little face-to-face chat with every customer we have.
But Ben, that's gotta be over 200 cities.
I don't care. Thanks.
If you're the kind of business that still believes personal service deserves a lot more than lip service, welcome to United.
Larry. Lewis.
That's the way we've been doing business for over 60 years.
Ben, where are you going? To visit that old friend who fired us this morning.
United. Come fly the friendly skies.
On CBS This Morning, here's a look at your weather. There's no let-up to the thunderstorm activity along the Gulf Coast, as the next few days will remain very wet. Stormy weather will continue across the Rockies and into the Midwest. However, the Northeast will remain simply gorgeous for yet one more day.
Tomorrow on CBS This Morning, no Henry Kissinger. How are we going to survive?
He did a great job today.
But we have other things instead. Kurt Russell and Robert De Niro in a new thriller, and our Gene Siskel is going to have a review, plus Pat George on the fashion comeback of the 60s look.
And tonight on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, Eye in America focuses on the plight of migrant workers in Southern California. Have a good day, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us.